This is Damon Cart from NLP Gym. In this video, I continue my discussion with renowned Ashtanga yogi, Melanie Fawer. If you haven't already, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. From Ashtanga Yoga, and more specifically from Melanie Fawer, my first yoga teacher, I learned principles and techniques and ways of practicing that I was able to bring into my learning NLP. I started my yoga journey before I started my NLP journey, and now the two really come together, and it's hard to distinguish for me which practices are which. They're the two great practices in my life, and in this video I go back and discuss with Melanie Fawer what she taught me, the role of a teacher and the role of a student in learning any great practice and actualizing your potential. Enjoy this video. I revere great teachers. I think I didn't know that teaching in any capacity was a calling for me. I just knew that I was attracted to teachers who were good at anything and who taught me anything. Like, I can think of maybe 2 or 3 teachers in public school when I was, from kindergarten on through high school, who just really stand out in my mind as great teachers. I'm sitting here talking to you right now because you are one of the great teachers in my life. If it weren't for your sort of inspiration, I don't know if I would have stuck to the practice of Ashtanga. And like I said, it's NLP and Ashtanga. I mean, they're really the 2 great practices in my life that have been everything to me, have got me through the hardest times, and have helped me be successful in pretty much every area of my life. And so the calling of teaching, because I remember I had a conversation with you, it was probably years and years ago, and you told me you didn't know that you were going to be a yoga teacher. It just sort of happened that way. Tell me, I guess, a little bit about that.
Well, talking about lack of clarity, I had no clarity when I started Ashtanga yoga in general, and I certainly was looking for some clarity in my life, some direction. And I came to doing yoga and Ashtanga not for physical reasons. And it just, I think it was a self-medication kind of thing for me initially. I had a lot of depression when I was younger, and the way it worked is somehow it just made my life feel like it had more meaning. So the more I did it, the better I felt, Yeah, and my bird has a toe fetish, so he will bite my toe if I let him, and it hurts really bad. So, so my logic, literally having traveled in the north, and the friend I was traveling with at the time was leaving to go back to work in America. And so, hello birdie, this will be your first interview with the bird on the head. Okay. Okay then.
Okay, that could be a little distracting.
Yeah. Sweetie, can you take the bird for me? I was like 25. I don't think I knew I'd be doing this the rest of my life. I don't think I had any idea the role he played in yoga history at the time. Okay. I was just looking to get out of depression and have find some authentic yoga. And I just, all right. Guess we're gonna cut there for a second.
Yeah.
Outside.
What do you think it means to be a teacher, in your experience?
I think it means to hold the space of the student before you, to teach with compassion. Sometimes it does mean being a little more stern than others. And to be consistent to teaching the same way I'm consistent to practicing. You got to show up, you got to be present for your students. And I don't think of it as just teaching like this simple like asana thing. To me, teaching is encompassing the whole of the person. That doesn't mean that I know everything going on for that person in their life, but I've lived long enough to know that we all come with traumas, and we're all coming to it at different points in our life, and most of us probably could use a little more support and love than not, and that they're probably not getting it or asking for it. And so I like to try to kind of fill that gap a little bit if I can in my way. And if in my teaching I can also help them to identify what their triggers are, and meet their potential, then that's what I'm there to do, to try to help that person be the most that they can be, or sometimes they come and they have a very serious physical ailment, it's much more specific like that, and so to try to help them get out of pain or, psychological pain, we're all in some kind of state of suffering, if you will. So, but my job as a teacher is to just try to support them, to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And all those things I feel like you've done for me.
Thank you.
Even, we went sometimes years without seeing each other.
Yeah.
I wrote you an email one time, and I know you don't check your email, or at the time you weren't checking your email.
I check email, just I'm not good at the my direct email. I'm not good at the other kind, like
this
Facebook,
was years ago.
Facebook emails. Okay.
Yeah, this was years ago.
I'm just gonna say you're probably right with that one.
I sent you this email. I said, because I had just finished practicing, and I had a very strong sense of your presence with me, and I started to realize that I had a very strong sense of your presence every time I practice, and even now I still have that sense, and it's really amazing because it's not like I tried to put it, I tried to, I got to think about Melanie while I'm practicing. I don't do that at all.
Very touched, seriously.
I sent you that in the email. I said,
Did I ever respond?
You did, like 3 months later.
I'm so sorry.
I emailed you,
checking.
I said, you're always with me in my practice. And 3 months later, you came back.
Shame on me.
And I think you said the same thing. I think you said that you were very touched. It's interesting. It's very similar sort of
Well,
response.
as a teacher, to know that you have affected someone's life for the positive, I don't think there's a greater compliment or reward, anyone could give me, really.
You're the only teacher who didn't really teach with words, and that was so new to me. You taught with your hands. You taught when you put your hands on someone's body, it's like you're receiving some sort of information through their body, and you're communicating some sort of information. And in NLP we say you cannot not communicate. Like if I don't say anything, that I cannot not communicate something through my body, and we communicate so much more non-verbally.
I think our bodies tell so much, how we breathe, how we move, how we hold ourselves. So all you have to do is be observant, right?
When that's in NLP, we train ourselves to do exactly that. It's called sensory acuity and calibration, where you watch somebody's breathing, you watch their skin tone change, you watch their posture, you imitate it to get a sense of their world, and then in doing that, you gain rapport with the person, and then you can, screw with their mind. No, you can if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend doing that.
I guess as a yoga teacher, you could too.
Yeah,
it's not my way.
And I'm assuming that's basically probably how you learned from Pattabhi Jois, because you couldn't really understand what he was saying.
To me, part of the beauty of India and their way, and the fact that he didn't speak a lot of English, was it wasn't so much about the why, it was the practice. It was all in the doing and in the practice, and Pattabhi Jois always said that it was 99% practice and 1% theory.
And I steal that, and I use that for NLP. Yeah.
Occasionally change it to 95% practice, 5% theory. But the point is you have to practice. But that 1% is extremely important too.
Absolutely.
But if you don't, you have to practice, and that's the method of Mysore style too, is the adjustments, the hand maneuvering is, in my opinion, it's not because he's just said this to me, but it was hard not to glean it, is that let's not take the person out of their present, out of their breath, out of their experience by interjecting my opinion or my words, which pulls them outside of themselves. Let's use our hands to create that. And so, so there's not a lot of talking in Ashtanga. It doesn't mean you never talk to give instructions. Sometimes you have to, you want to, whatever. But so I think I gleaned a lot from Guruji, and I think a lot of other people did too, who were, kind of paying attention.
What she's sort of speaking about, or I don't want to say sort of, what she is speaking about is you join with that person. In that sense, you're gaining rapport. Like if I want to get rapport with you, I need to join you in your world and give you some sense of being familiar with me. And then once you feel familiar and trust me, then I can lead you. I can lead you to a solution.
I think there has to have a sense of trust with the teacher for sure. Ideally faith, which kind of goes a little bit beyond the physical. And And then I think there's a lot of energy and power in the experiences of the teacher, which ideally get imparted through spending time with the teacher. So, and I was always really careful, when I couldn't go to India and I wasn't with Guruji, if I was going to study with somebody, to put myself in the presence of someone who I knew had spent a lot of time with Guruji. And I think, I'm guessing you kind of feel the same way, that you align yourself with people that have actually practiced NLP.
Absolutely.
And have a lot of experience doing that, because that's where you're going to get the most experience.
What's the most? Yeah, what's the most surprising thing about some of these people who are world-renowned teachers in NLP? Sometimes were the worst people to learn from, because they had their own agendas. And I know it's just deviating from what you're saying about the people who you studied with, but
I chose great. I mean, I'm happy, but I think there's probably,
there's a good lesson to learn there, though.
Not all teachers are made the same, and some people that are teaching aren't necessarily, just because you're a great practitioner doesn't mean you're going to be a great teacher, and sometimes vice versa. It doesn't mean putting my leg behind my head, just because I can do great asana is going to make me a good teacher. I think I am a good teacher, and I think it was a calling for me, but yeah,
So I got to tell you this too. This is kind of funny. So you were my first yoga teacher, really. I went to 2 classes before, but I don't consider either of those 2 yoga teachers to be my first teacher. So you were my first true teacher, yoga teacher. Unfortunately, I judged every yoga teacher from that point on by the standard of you, and not many. I would say I did practice with Guruji, and Sharat was there, he adjusted me,
Cool.
Yeah, so there were some people that were up there. I don't want to judge who exactly was better, and there was Noah Williams who, for me, I didn't practice with him often, but was amazing. And but other than that, there weren't I would go to other yoga teachers, and at first I just thought that they were all like you.
Yeah.
When I went to them, they were so not like you, and they just didn't have the depth, I guess, is what I would say. Sure, like you said, they could do some amazing things with their body, but it didn't mean that they could teach. And one story I wanted to say that.
How does that translate for you to studying with NLP teachers?
NLP teachers, that's been really tricky. It's been really tricky because there is a side of NLP that's very manipulative, and there's a side of it where it's very competitive, and the teachers, once you start getting kind of good, they start getting afraid that you're going to compete with them. So they start sort of blocking you out.
Well, I think, let me just interject one thing if I can. I'm flattered that you took so much from my teaching. And I was fortunate that the few people I did study with when I couldn't study with Guruji were good teachers. And there weren't a lot of them that I did that with. But I think you get politics in anything, whether it's something that likes to hold itself so high as teaching yoga or NLP. But what you said was important. There was something fortunate in you, you weren't so lost that you didn't have a strong intuitive sense of what a teacher was that you were looking for. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I like to think that if you have hopefully you have enough of a sense of self that you can have a sense for the teacher that you've chosen to give a chance to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so that you'll only stick with one, no matter how high their ranking or their certification, only if the teaching is proving itself to you. Because there's going to always be egomaniacs, narcissists,
there's
all
2
that
things.
kind of stuff. So it's going to happen, but it doesn't mean that they're all.
Well, and some of these people I learned great things from, but then when I bumped up against...
You have to see the human side.
Yeah. When I bumped up against that limitation with them, I realized, okay, I'm done. I've learned all I can from them.
Right.
They're not going to teach me anymore, even if they know it or not know it. There's nothing more to really learn
Or you
here.
can only go to them for this kind of learning.
Right.
And not,
Right.
I just think that's part of life, Jung had it with Freud.
Yeah, very true.
I love Guruji with all my heart. There were certain aspects of his personality I would not want to emulate, but they were interesting because they made me realize, well, that's the part I can leave behind, but I don't have to throw out everything just
of course.
those parts.
Yeah. There were 2 things that you taught me as a teacher, not just teaching me for my gain as being a student of Ashtanga, but 2 things that I've carried with me as a teacher that was very important. And this is what helped me trust you more, because you were talking a little bit about that, the faith that you have with your teacher and the practice. And I reached a point, I think it was around 3 months after I'd been practicing Ashtanga, where I was like, pretty much, if you told me to do anything, I would have gone along with it, because I just had reached that level of trust with you. One of them was, and at the time, these classes were really full, and you had like often 2 assistant instructors walking around and adjusting people, and I was doing a lot of things wrong, and this one assistant kept like on me, like she was constantly adjusting me, constantly saying stuff, and I heard you come and tell her, back off, like let him do a little bit more on his own. And then later in my practice, during that session, I saw her, I could see her out of the corner of my eye, and I saw you there too, and I was doing something, and she was about to come and stop me, adjust me, or something like that, and I saw you put your hand on her arm and said, let him.
Leave him.
Yeah, and what it told me is that there was a certain point at which you let the student figure it out for themselves, and that is so important.
Yeah.
And I found that, like, being a father, being a teacher, that you have to let them sort of figure it out sometimes for themselves, even though you know that like they're doing it wrong, or you could help them out. You just have to step back as a teacher and know that the best learning that they can have in that moment is to just do it and even maybe fail or make a mistake.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have nothing to say to that.
Yeah, everything you said was so true.
And then the other one was...
And teaching teachers to be teachers,
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on.
And then I came to you one time because I think I always felt inside of me this draw to want to teach. And
maybe you'll come and teach. Maybe you'll come and train.
I thought about it. I remember having to make a decision, and I do want to do your teacher training just for my own bettering my practice. Because when I learned NLP, it's one thing to learn it as a student, and then quite another thing to learn it from the perspective of a teacher. Because when when you're teaching it, wow, it opens up a whole new realm of the practice. Yeah.
That's what I call my trainings, the practice of teaching.
I'm gonna take that.
But it would be interesting, just from the point of view that you clearly have from a personal experience, your own, your understanding of why the body is so important. So even if you don't want to teach Ashtanga, the fact that you'd have that under your belt. So if you wanted to integrate it into your NLP, you could wear both hats.
Yeah, and like you were saying about yoga and living, the lines are so blurred at this point. Yeah. My NLP practice and my Ashtanga practice, actually, they're obviously, when you look at them, extremely different, but I don't really see much of a difference in my life. It's sort of like the practice of living. It's just all kind of one thing. The other thing or experience that I had with you that I made me trust you, I think I felt the desire to be a teacher. I was even a bartending teacher at one point because I knew how to bartend. I'd been doing it for years. It just seemed natural, and I enjoyed that so much. It was not a very well-paying job, but I really enjoyed it. But so I'm starting to get through the practice. I don't even think I was through the primary series at this point, but I started thinking about teaching Ashtanga, and I came to you, and I had no idea about like Pattabhi Jois. I didn't know that. At the time, I think you were only one of 2 or 3 women who were certified in Ashtanga in this country.
Oh. Probably there was more than that, but I don't.
There were very few, and so I didn't know how structured the whole thing was. Yeah, I didn't know that you had to spend so much time with Pattabhi Jois, and so I come to you and I say, hey, I'm thinking about being a teacher, and you were just like, oh, okay, whoa,
Wait a minute.
Yeah, don't jump into that just yet. Start, practice for more years. But the thing that really struck me is you started rattling off names of other teachers I should learn from. And at the time, I thought, it was pretty cool. And then as I've gone through life and seen the politics and things, especially in NLP, a lot of NLP trainers would never, ever tell their student to go train with another teacher. In fact, I've had teachers who blacklisted me because I went and trained with another teacher. And so that was something that I was really struck by. And I've thought about over the years that you were actually telling me, I think you should go train with, if you want to be a teacher, you need to go train with these other people. Basically telling me that I wasn't going to get it all from you.
Yeah, that was probably when I was, and I would still support other teachers that I thought had, I've got teachers that I think are senior to me and I can learn from. So I do think it's important to try to, at least in the yoga world, to have one main teacher. But that said, especially if you're traveling and that teacher's where you're traveling, why not go see if you can learn something from them? I don't believe in holding on so tight either, or having that kind of, that kind of grasping. It doesn't feel healthy to me, to feel like there's some kind of ownership. And I guess it's just my way. I don't want to tell people what to do. I want them to come to it on their own. So, I would want that person to want to be studying with me, not doing it because I've guilted them into it or I've, strong-armed them into it. I don't see that as a healthy thing.
Yeah, and then even now, like, that is one of the things that I recommend to people. I tell them, you're not going to get it all from me. As far as NLP goes, you need to train with other teachers. You need to get a multi-dimensional perspective of it to really understand it and to really embody it.
Yeah, so I can't be everything, I have my strong points. I think I know what they are.
Check out my website, nlp-gym.com. Follow me on Facebook for real-time updates on upcoming workshops and free practice sessions that I hold in Santa Cruz, California. If you like this video, please click like right down here and leave me a comment or a question. I will follow up with you. Stay tuned to the end of this video so you can see how you can get your hands on a free NLP online training. Take care.